What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers have brought back an old friend, Stanley Johnson. Many of you may remember Stanley Johnson, particularly from that terrible season with Russell Westbrook and Trevor Ariza. We brought all the old guys back. He was brought in on a 10-day, got another one, and then ended up actually getting a main roster spot for us. It was really good. He was a really good piece and acquisition for us. He's a guy that I really like, right? Now, obviously, this is a G League signing. This is a G League acquisition. But clearly, the Lakers are bringing in guys that they have interest in. You've seen them now, like on 3 separate occasions, sign a guy to the G League roster that is a vet, that kind of they're keeping an eye on for potential at some point on the main roster. And Stanley Johnson would be another great acquisition, I think, particularly with this team. Obviously, he's not really known as like a 3-and-D guy, but defensively he is, right? Good, strong, physical defensive presence, 6'7" in size, 6'8", and he's 243 pounds. He's got a 7-foot wingspan. Right? He's built that reputation as just that defensive guy that can get out there and get after it. He was actually very good for San Antonio. He was actually better for San Antonio in limited run than he was with the Lakers. And he was playing like 23 minutes. And he was like, again, one of the bright spots for the Lakers. He was shooting 45% from three-point range for San Antonio. And then San Antonio just kind of let him go. There's a lot of talks about them signing him and stuff. And that was in the 2022-2023 season. And then 2023-2024, he ended up going and playing overseas. But yeah, it was just really strange. Like, even Spurs fans were like, what? Why did we let this guy go? This guy was, like, fantastic. But nonetheless, that's what ended up happening. But you look at his last stint with San Antonio, 30 games played. He played 16 or 15.6 minutes per game, got 4.1 field goal attempts, shot 53.3%, 45% from three-point range on 1.3 attempts. He shot 57.3% from two-point range on 2.7 attempts, 60%, 61% almost, EFG. He shot 67% from the foul line, 3 rebounds, including almost a full offensive rebound a game, so 3.2 rebounds, 2.2 assists, half a steal, half a block, and just under 6 points per game. But you look at that Lakers stint that year, 22.8 minutes per game, 5.2 field goal attempts, shot 46.6% total from the field, 31.5% on 2.2 attempts, which isn't great, but he's a career 31% three-point shooter. Again, not really known as a three-point shooter, more known as that defensive piece, a good, strong, physical defender that can defend multiple positions. But he did shoot 57.5% on 3 attempts per game during that stint for the Lakers, EFG of 53.2%. He averaged 3.2 rebounds, just under 2 assists, almost a full steal, half a block, and 7 points per game. Again, guy that, like, he's not a guy that I look at and go like, oh, that's it. Like, that's the missing piece for Lakers. But he's a guy that I wouldn't mind bringing at all, especially like to replace Cam Reddish, right? Because Lakers are probably moving off of Cam Reddish at some point, whether it's via trade or, whatever, right? Like, Cam Reddish was really good defensively, but he doesn't have the size, right? He's obviously long and lengthy, but he doesn't have that just like physicality and size that Stanley Johnson has, right? Stanley Johnson was giving some people some fits and really just kind of locked in defensively. Supposedly he's improved his defense, or not his defense, his shooting ability. So that would be nice if he could. I'm not saying he has to shoot the lights out. I don't think anyone's expecting him to be a 40% three-point shooter, but is he a guy that can give you 35% from three-point range? Something like that, I think, would do a lot. I think something like that would really go a long way. But again, like, the difference between him and Cam Reddish, because Cam Reddish is the same height. He's also, like, Stanley Johnson has a 7-foot wingspan. Cam Reddish has a 7'1" wingspan, but it's just the weight, right? Cam Reddish is 217, which is why he can defend guards and stuff like that, where Stanley Johnson is, like I mentioned, 242, 245. So he's just got like 30 pounds on Cam Reddish, but still athletic, still moves well, still can be very physical, still can switch out on the perimeter as well as defend at the guard spot. He can handle the ball a little bit. He can do some things out there, right? I wouldn't hate bringing him back. Obviously, I don't think that this is a move for this season. I think this is more potentially to just get like a 15th guy on the bench, right? Like, I don't think Stanley Johnson's going to be the Lakers' big acquisition in the offseason, or at least I hope not, right? We all hope not. But to me, it's just Lakers bringing in guys like Devontae Graham, you saw, right? Stanley Johnson, right? Bringing in these guys, Jordan Goodwin, guys that, yeah, you're probably not bringing in this year because your roster's full. On top of your roster being full, you are probably going to buy out somebody, but you need that for the center spot unless, once you get, like, say, a month out of the season. Because remember, the contracts are prorated. So, if 3 weeks out from the playoffs, right, they waive 2 guys, then maybe you could bring in 2 guys, but realistically, you're probably just bringing in 1 guy. So to me, Stanley Johnson would be a guy that you'd bring in next season, right? So you make all your moves, you do all your stuff. It's like, hey, we need to fill like 3 roster spots. And you're bringing in like Stanley Johnson, maybe like a Christian Coloco, and then, a Jordan Goodwin. Like those 3 guys on like non-guaranteed deals. So if you needed to waive anybody or get off of anybody, for the buyout, you could do that, right? Like that's the kind of thing that I see with this team, right? That's the only thing that I see with Stanley Johnson being a part of this. But, I'd really love to see Stanley Johnson get another run. Like he's a guy that, I think all of us have been like, hey, bring back Stanley, like let him get some burn. I even saw a couple people mention him like months ago when it was like, man, before like Dorian Finney-Smith and everything, where people were like, man, we could really use another wing. And it was like, oh, what about Stanley Johnson? And, honestly, I that's not what I wanted, right? Like I even said, like, hey, we need a trade for a wing, right? Like if we would have gotten Stanley Johnson, as much as I would have been happy to see him back, I would have been upset. Like there's no way that this is your acquisition at the wing spot. But again, for him to be a guy to replace like a Cam Reddish in the offseason or something, like I'm not against it, right? I'm all for it, right? Like if you could bring him on, have him be a real piece for the Lakers, and then a guy that gets spots in the rotation, right? Because between Luka and LeBron, you just need defensive pieces. I don't care how bad guys are offensively. Luka and LeBron are going to make them look like they're real offensive threats, right? Like you just gotta be able to move off ball. Stanley Johnson, with his size and his length, can be a good slasher, can be a good cutter. We saw it the previous year. He actually has a decent mid range, so he's a guy that I could see really getting an opportunity with the Lakers. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of bringing back Stanley Johnson? Are you excited that they brought him to a G League roster spot? Remember, it's a G League roster spot. Do you not? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.